Happy Victoria Day weekend here from the Tough Call team. We hope you have a great holiday weekend. Join our conversation on Discord, our fan group on Facebook, or write to us at toughcallmediation@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy the show.
Tough Call Mediation is brought to you by Herb Legal LLP, serving your mediation and freelance paralegal needs in Ontario, New York, Quebec, and throughout North America. Connect to their website today at www.herblawservices.com.
Hello, and welcome to Tough Call Mediation. My name is CT Ayler, and I'm with my amazing co-host, Dale Sheldon.
Hello. Guten Morgen.
Well, it's more like afternoon now.
Oh, it really is. I didn't realize that. Yeah, it is afternoon.
And
you just made me watch a movie.
I know. I forced Dale to watch an oldie.
It's amazing that I had gone this long not watching.
Yeah, because it's what, 98?
The movie was in 98.
2024.
It's 2024.
It's a long time. Like, we're getting on almost 25 years.
Yeah, technically, I still haven't seen all of it.
Yeah, we had to skip through a couple of them.
Skip through some parts because I don't like the main.
So, Adam Sandler, turns out I was a reluctant fan who now has grown in love and appreciation for you. But Dale is still not there, unfortunately.
I am not.
Of course, we totally assumed that Adam Sandler will be listening to our podcast.
Yeah, and I'm sure he's a great guy. He's very successful. I respect him. I don't know what it is. I don't know. I just don't.
He's just not your cup of tea.
Just
That's fine.
Yeah, just not my.
That's fine.
Not my type of comedy. Yeah.
I'm just saying that, especially in some of his more serious roles as he's gotten older, like some of those, I mentioned the, I can't remember the name of the film. It only came out, I think, last year or two, which is a little sad for me.
Anything recently.
Oh yeah, he's done a whole bunch of Netflix movies. And one that I think he even got nominated for when involved jewel thievery. Everyone loved it because I appreciated all of the critics' reviews, the glowing critics' reviews of Adam Sandler's work in that film was amazing. Again, sorry listeners, and it's like, well, which film are you talking about? I don't remember the name. That's not good. But I understood. I appreciated. I got it. And I tend to like those raw, gritty kind of movies. And watching him sweat through very high adrenaline, intense situations, I appreciate and got. And I thought he actually did a really good acting job. Sorry, Tyree, I'm just going to look this up because it's going to fucking bother me forever. Sandler. Okay, movies. Oh my gosh, Murder Mystery is actually pretty funny too. But anyway, there we go. Okay, so we're back. So the movie that comes out from Netflix, Uncut Gems, and Adam Sandler plays this slightly awkward, gambling addicted Jewish American jeweler, and he is in trouble, and he has quite a lot of problems as you discover as the movie unfolds. And I know you're not going to watch it, so that's fine.
No, I don't know. Now I'm thinking maybe I should give him another shot.
Say give him another shot. It was
all the over-the-top 90s comedy that really, and it wasn't just him. It was that entire
well
genre for
you may like Uncut Gems a little bit more than I did. There's a part of it that I was like, I'm not as in love with this. However, there's another movie that he came out with where he was a scout for, it's called Hustle, and it came out in 2022, so maybe not quite, a little over a year ago. And it's brilliant, and it has all of the great basketball stars, like heroes of it. I don't think it has Jordan in it, but yeah, a lot of famous basketball players. And it also has the Queen herself playing his wife, Queen Latifah.
I love Queen Latifah.
Okay, good.
So I could...
Because we could have come to blows.
No,
if you
she's
had
fantastic.
okay.
Yeah. I love her. Yeah.
Like that she plays for my team too, because if she showed up on my door, not that she ever would, but she's like, listen, Chantal, I've heard your voice on this podcast and I just have to get to know you. Will you come away with me? I'll say, yeah, just 1 second. I have to go upstairs and tell my husband I'm leaving him. As if that would ever happen. But I really enjoyed that movie. And
He was in Pixels? I remember seeing that.
I didn't see that movie.
It wasn't fantastic.
Oh, okay.
But I did see that one.
Well, he's played a lot of kids' movies as well. Just I think because he has young daughters who are now, I think they're in their teens, because he's produced a couple of films where they're in now. Yeah.
Okay.
And they're not bad actors, actually.
And I did see, and I forgot it. Wait, you just showed it a minute ago. Oh, I think it was was it Murder Mystery?
Murder Mystery with Jennifer Aniston.
I did see
Murder
that,
Mystery
and
2.
that
It's
was good.
Really cute.
I forgot about that. I'll give him.
And so Punch Drunk Love is what I was talking about. That was sort of his breakout serial. That was his breakout serial role. No, his serious role. And I thought he did well in it. There's a lot of people I know who were like, not good. Adam Sandler is amazing. And I was like, well, I just, the movie was okay. I thought it was really good. It was very indie, early aught style, that kind of feel. And I just wasn't, I think I just wasn't in that mood. I could probably use a rewatch of that.
Yeah.
But Hotel Transylvania 1, 2, and 3 came out when Marcus was young, and we loved them. They were awesome. Hold on, Tyree. Are you taking a break? No. Oh, you're like, I
no,
can't.
I couldn't. I don't know if it's not. I couldn't.
It's not working.
But it's fine because I'm good without it anyway.
Hold on, let me just check.
I wasn't hearing anything. You're hearing me though, right?
Oh, yes, I am.
What was that?
Oh, just yeah, I can hear. Maybe it's just the volume's a little low. Let's see. Yeah, I can hear just
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe you're just going deaf, Dale.
Maybe, yeah.
Fuck.
What did you do?
Well, it snapped, and so it hit.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You're still not going to.
No, I'm fine. I kind of like it without, anyway. Hotel Transylvania. Yeah.
It's so cute. I really, really like it. Yeah. But we're not here to talk
50
about...
50 States was good. Yeah. Sorry.
Well, that's all. It's not really a sequel, but it is a reprisal of this magic duo couple of the movie that we're going to be talking about today.
Right.
The Wedding Singer. Came out in 1998. Rave reviews, even though Dale...
I was fresh out of high school.
You were in high school?
Fresh out of high school. Well, I graduated in 96, so I had a couple of years out of high school.
Oh, wow. Wow. That's, yeah. I was not in high school.
You're not that much older than me.
I think I was just getting out of uni in 98. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So... there you go. The reason I wanted to bring it up, this particular movie, is there's a lot of people who, when they are aware of what mediation is, they only think of it in terms of separation, divorce, or maybe some parental coordination of when the couple is splitting up. They don't think of mediation as even a tool for any type of relationship, or even, getting ready for marriage, or if, we always talk about these issues that are out and about. In fact, Charlotte Dobre, one of my favorite reaction content creators, she got millions of views mostly because she had reactions to people writing in about bridezillas and groomzillas and monster mother-in-laws and monster father-in-laws, and just how terrible weddings can be. And so I kind of wanted to bring it up today to kind of talk about some of the issues that The Wedding Singer presents, and a little bit of a touch point, a little bit of a callback to some of the things that we see in that movie. So, but first, a review of the movie, straight fresh out of watching it. Dale Sheldon, tell us.
What? A review?
What was your opinion of that movie?
I mean, it was fine. Okay, I thought because I just don't like, I'm sorry, Adam Sandler. I don't know why I don't like you. I really don't. But everyone else was amazing. What? Oh, first moment there, I thought Christina Taylor was someone else. Anyway. No, Drew Barrymore is fantastic. Alexis Arquette was fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Ellen Albertini was great. Even Billy Idol was in it. I wasn't expecting.
You didn't even. You were like, "Is that really?"
I didn't know if it was him.
And it was.
He didn't look the same. Well, I guess because
it
it was probably a decade
at the time
after, his famous White Wedding music video, which is the only thing I've ever seen his face in. Is the White Wedding music video? Because
he's been in a lot of UK content of like coming on to game shows or quiz shows and having that. Oh yeah,
because I see so much of that, but I don't remember ever seeing him in anything.
Yeah, I've seen him in a few. I think I have to check if he was on Graham Norton. I really think
I would be surprised if he hadn't been at
there
some
you
point.
go. There you
but
go.
I guess I haven't seen him. I mean, Graham Norton's been around for so long, but anyway, everyone was so great, and Adam wasn't. For the 90s, he was he wasn't as over the top as usual. He wasn't the water boy or that. What was the one with he was like a devil child?
I don't know.
I don't remember. Anyway, there were too much.
I wasn't a huge fan either and I watched it when it came out in the theaters in 1998. And that's what turned me. That's what converted me. That's what made me an Adam Sandler fan. This movie was like, yes.
It was the big movie back then that everybody was talking about. And I don't know.
You refused. You boycotted it.
It never, thankfully, it just never came up either. Like I had no desire to make the, to take the time myself to do it. And I had no friends that were, I had friends, but I had none that were saying, hey, let's go watch this, thankfully. So, yeah.
Well, there was other types of content that was coming out back then. And especially this was sort of the height of the indie movie scene. Sundance was now really big.
True.
South by Southwest was really big. Cannes was always there really for a while, but then suddenly TIFF, Toronto International Film Festival. That was back when I was volunteering for TIFF, before TIFF became even huge.
No, I just thought of another movie we should do later that is, I think, the same year, but it's with Jennifer Aniston and Paul Rudd, and it was called, what was the name of it?
Pairing.
Yeah.
And I really like Paul Rudd.
I can't remember the name of it, but basically Paul Rudd's a gay character and they end up having a child together, kind of. I forget exactly what happens. But anyway.
No, was this one of those many, many films of that horrible genre back in the day when the acceptance of queer people could only be if they were the best? Like, don't get me wrong, I love My Best Friend's Wedding, but Rupert Everett Scott plays the gay best friend who swoops in to save the day.
It wasn't like
and
that.
And that's it. That's all. That was the acceptable place to be in.
Yeah, they are the best friend thing, but the difference is that he was actually the main character. It was more focused on him and also his other relationship, like with his two boyfriends that he's had.
Is this
during
like
the
a
course of the
wish
movie.
fulfillment though? About they end up co-parenting and it's all beautiful in the end because she actually was secretly in love with him the whole time.
No, that's
or
what's
something?
beautiful about it. It's not that.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's interesting.
Okay, I'll watch
It's an interesting
this.
movie.
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I'll watch it with you. But the thing is I've watched a few of those. Maybe bad.
Well, you know, you just maybe sit through
movies.
Wedding Singer. You can sit through this.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hopefully this isn't a spoiler for people because, come on, guys, it's 1998. You can't all have been,
No, come on.
you know, as disinterested as Dale. And the thing is I still sometimes watch that scene, and he knows the scene now because it was coming up. We were starting to talk. I said, wait, you have to watch. This is the scene because back then, even in the theater, I was getting a little bored of the movie. And then he gets stood up at his wedding, which is a really crap thing to happen to anybody, which is something we'll talk about through the lens of mediation. But oh my gosh, that he's pushed to work and he sings. He's miserable in front of Cindy and Scott's wedding. And, you know, I cry. You watch me practically cry with laughter, right? Like it just...
She was, I don't know, like, what is wrong with you? Yeah. That's right. The Object of My Affection is the movie with Paul Rudd and Jennifer Aniston.
Huh. Okay.
It was based on a movie. I read the movie. I read the book. The book was terrible.
Oh, but better movie. Oh, one of those
Much
few.
better movie.
Because sometimes
The
the
book
book
was
is
so
better.
different and just
Interesting.
yeah. Anyway, like I don't even know why they bothered calling it the same thing. Anyway, sorry.
Okay.
We can cut
Yeah,
all
okay.
that
I'll watch
part
it.
out and go
Maybe
back
we
to
can
it.
do a part 2 of marriage mediation. Like before the divorce and separation mediation, because here's some of the topics that it brings up.
Yeah.
So this is my favorite scene. Listeners, you can, if you did enjoy The Wedding Singer, you can talk about some of the characters. You can write to us, or you can talk about, oh yeah, this happened to us at our wedding, or this is what happened to me, and this is how I dealt with it. Because several things happen, which is why I love this scene, which is why in some ways it's so genius. Mm-hmm. Because not only can I empathize with Robbie Hart, Adam Sandler's character, who's just been stood up the day of his wedding, which we'll get to in a moment. But he's been pressured to go to work by his friend to get him out of bed and get going. And he's just being miserable. Holiday, celebrate. Like, it's just so...
I love the celebrate, especially. Because, like, broke in tears. Celebrate. That was good. That was good.
And then Alexis Arquette's holiday.
Yeah. Who's clearly supposed to be Boy George.
Oh, yes.
They even named her
rem-
Boy George.
Well, remember how back then when Boy George, height of fame, Culture Club, there were a lot of people who styled themselves that way.
Yeah. It was very much a...
I remember there was a woman who, I don't remember her son's name because he left our school. But she used to come and she looked just like Boy George. She dressed like him. And she was a #1 fan. And I found out years later that because my mom she ran the daycare that was adjacent to the school, she ended up getting to know this boy's mother. And she said that she was one of those rabid fans who would just go and save money to go to Culture Club performances anywhere kind of thing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, sorry, we're going to get up to the part where he's singing, he's miserable, and then he starts singing Love Stinks, and he gets right up to Cindy and Scott at their wedding, you know, and he just turns, he's like, I hate you. So brutal. And what I love about that whole thing is I empathize with Robbie Hart, but I really empathize with Cindy and Scott. Could you imagine? This is your wedding. And you're so excited. This is, you know, this beautiful day. Your whole family and friends, they've traveled, they've come here. You've spent months or some people years planning this big, big event. And then there's this jerk off just standing there being miserable. And he walks right up to them and he's like, I hate you. Just like, what is happening here?
I feel like if that happened to me, if I was the groom there,
yeah,
I would just think it was so comical that I don't know.
Because I think we've talked about this. My initial fear response is freeze. So just be so stunned. I would laugh about it. I mean, you're right. You had said when we were talking that this would be a really fun story for people later, but
even in the moment, I feel like I'd be like, this is awesome. This is perfect.
Well, you might have been one of the table members who just got in on it, because I could totally be Sideburns lady. I could totally see it be like, love stinks.
Yeah.
Or one of the people at table 9 where they're all chorusing, love stinks.
The mutant table. Yeah.
And yet I can also empathize with the father, not the mother of the couple. The father who was
I don't remember what she did. Did she do anything?
So he finishes that holiday celebrate, and then it just sort of dies at the end of the music, and there's dead silence, and then she starts clapping.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she's trying to be polite and keep the movement going and whatnot. But the father is just like, I'm not paying for this. He's like, sir, one more outburst from you and I will strangle you with this microphone cord. But I am a bit of a freezer. So maybe I would have been more apt to be like the mother-in-law or mother initially. Mm-hmm. But I really empathize with the father because he's footing the bill for this. And this is the behavior and the attitude of the performer.
Yeah.
It's a little bit inappropriate him punching Adam Sandler's character out, but it's almost a justifiable rage. You know, it's like, why are you here? Why are you ruining my daughter's or son's wedding?
It's a one-time event. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for some people.
And this is how lawsuits start. Like in the real world, if this happened.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. In the real world, yeah.
Yeah. They would have the venue that offered him as the service, they would have been on the hook for that. Would have been a lot of problems. And
although, do you think because of the father's assault of him,
he could have been charged?
Have washed it?
Depends.
You know what I mean?
The police could have been called. He could have been sent to jail. He could have been charged for assault and battery. Yeah.
Yeah.
So both things could have easily happened. But here's the thing is, how do you potentially create a mediation from that? Because if the assault charge wasn't laid, because then that goes into maybe a restorative justice as an alternative dispute resolution, if you want to think of it that way. For criminal, we don't do that. This is more about the civil disputes. Mm-hmm. And it's about making sure, instead of going through the court process of a small courts claim, you are sitting down with the parties and negotiating a settlement on this. Because I know how a venue operating a business, chances are they would have had a contract, and that contract would have been, you get what you pay for, you get what you get, you don't get upset. They contractually fulfilled their obligations. They showed up. So had he not shown up, which is kind of interesting, they could have sued the venue, because then that would have been canceled, or not having provided an appropriate alternate, because which they might have had. They might have had the John
Lovett's
character on backup,
which
who was not exactly. Oh, they're not showing him in the list here, but that's fine.
He was really a cameo.
Yeah, he was pretty funny playing that jerky, arrogant, slick,
sleazy, leisure suit performer.
Lizard Lounge.
Yeah. Lounge lizard. Yeah. Lizard lounge. Yeah.
Lounge lizard. Yes. And so having that opportunity to be a mediator, sit down and see all of the sides, I think that is something that I think an important part of why you would bring a mediator in, someone who can appreciate and remain neutral enough to figure out what it was. Because one of the things that will be really hard to mediate is that upset, because that date happened. You can't rewind and okay, everyone, guests, just stay here an extra day. We're going to repeat the wedding. We're going to uneat the cake. We're going to uneat the... like, it's just not going to happen. That's done and over. So there's an injury. There's a tort claim that has happened to this party, and proving that they were injured. That is something that they would have to do. And really, it's I'm sure there are, great lawyers would be able to negotiate and bring up certain case law that says, well, other wedding performers don't typically sing Love Stinks and don't typically threaten to strangle audience members with their microphone cord.
Mm-hmm. Or tell the bride, I hate you. To her face. With a microphone. With a microphone.
So one thing the venue could offer.
The more I think about the situation, the funnier it gets, actually.
Yeah, exactly. One thing that the venue could offer is a full refund, because they could be on the hook for more.
Yeah.
And that's something that a mediator would have to look and negotiate, and bringing those people in. Chances are bringing the wedding singer into that. No, they're just the entertainment, but they are technically a party who performed the injury and harm. And they may want to be lodging a suit independent of the venue that hired him as well. So you're looking at two.
If the venue hired him. Because often...
Well, he seems to work at that same venue, and they're always talking about how they're at work. But you're right. He could be an independent singer, just like John Lovitz was.
That may just be one of the few venues in town.
Richmond.
There's only 4 Jewish families
that he mentioned when
town.
He does the bar. It was a bar mitzvah, not bat mitzvah.
Yeah, it was bar mitzvah. Yeah.
But so Richmond might not be very big. I'm not even sure where this Richfield. Oh yeah, maybe it's just a made up place.
Generic. Yeah, I'm sure.
Bigger than Ogdensburg, I imagine.
Yeah. Maybe not much, but yeah, maybe.
And they implied that it was sort of the outskirts, like the suburbs
of
a much larger city.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, like Chicago or something like that, maybe outside Chicago.
Mm-hmm. And so that potential other tort, him coming in with some sort of peace offering would be really, really great. I mean, it's hard to say what he could do. I mean, the position of the venue would be much easier to resolve. Here, have the money back for the venue. No harm, no foul. Now, the owners of the venue might really not like that, because that's quite a large chunk of change, and it was very clear they had a large staff. But considering what they could be sued for, and the court process, and how lengthy that could be, and how costly it is just to go through the court process, working on that negotiation is a good idea, I think. But having the negotiation between the wedding singer and, I'm guessing it would be the father of the bride or the groom of the couple, really, is who would be potentially launching this. Well, hopefully opening up to private mediation first and avoiding court. But chances are they would be the ones who would be pushing for court and not actually willing to come to the table. So I would be as a mediator, I would, if all three of those parties came to the table, I would congratulate all of them because of how difficult it would be to sit down, if it was even an in-person and not a caucus. Even if it's a remote and Zoom and everyone can see each other in Zoom, if you're not caucusing where you're shuttling back between the parties, just congratulating, like, I understand and appreciate what a big step is, because there was a lot of emotions and feelings that came out of something that cannot be repeated.
Yeah.
And we have to take a moment to acknowledge that there is a grief and a loss for what could have been. And that type of acknowledgement could go very far to repairing, because sometimes, you know, I think we're all afraid to say sorry. There's a big reluctance to show genuine remorse for something. But when it does happen, it really can go a long way. Mm-hmm. Sometimes more than money.
When it's genuine and not because you have to.
Sometimes it's, and that's, I think, the beauty of private mediation is, listen, Robbie Hart didn't have to come here today. It's fully voluntary, and you're hurt and you're injured, Cindy and Scott, and dad of Cindy and Scott. Mm-hmm. But he's here today, and he is coming and willing to sit down and work this out with you. So
when you wouldn't necessarily have to, also because of the assault, like we can't like ignore that too. Exactly. Like, especially if that happened today in 2024, you know that's on film.
Yes.
Somebody recorded that.
Yes.
So
phone whipped out the entire time when he was
right from
file holiday. Right. That would be recorded too.
Yeah, all of it. That'd probably be viral on TikTok.
So those are the kinds of things that I think people need to be a bit cognizant of, because they can be very damaging at the onset of a marriage. And those are the kinds of things people can hold on to. And then when they look back and they're separating and or divorcing, they're going, well, you know, I could tell it really started 10 years ago when we got married that day, and that stupid wedding singer, you know, that was an omen. I hear people talk about those things. It's like this bad thing that happened at our wedding. If a wedding
singer could bring down your marriage, there was other issues.
Of course. But I'm just saying that some people get so emotionally invested in something going wrong on their wedding day that it could be a very fast snowball effect, and then they're getting married, they're getting a separation or divorce like 3-6 months later, or this is years later and other things have happened and there's more issues that have gone on. But then they're like, we've gone to therapy and we've looked back to the point where it all went wrong. Mm-hmm. And this is when it started. This was the catalyst. And it's just like, why do you want to start marriage off with a lot of injurious feelings? Because it doesn't even have to be something that was that over the top and absurd to happen at your wedding. I mean, we were talking a little bit more about Drew Barrymore's character, Julia Sullivan, whose mother really pushed her wanted her to get married. And I said, we're going to talk about this at that one point when mom is sitting with her and she gives her the same bad advice mistake that she did herself. She's going, you know, Glenn's the one. He's a keeper. I mean, had I had a chance to go back to my wedding, I would just had the jitters, but I would have run away screaming. But you know what? You should marry Glenn, even though you're feeling jittery. So her daughter has come to her. So Julia Sullivan, Drew Barrymore's character, has come to her mother and said, I'm having misgivings.
Yeah.
And her own mother admits that she had misgivings too, and then had a divorce.
Justified misgivings.
Right?
Like she should have listened to herself.
Right.
But she's telling her daughter not to listen to herself.
Ignore it because this guy. Why? Yeah. And why this guy?
And that is such a common thing. You see it all the time in movies. Everyone gets nervous. And yeah, that's true. But are they for good reasons? Maybe that's why there's so many divorces.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I ever get married again, I'm going to know. You know what I mean? I've been there and done that. And I'm going to know, like, this is it. Like, I don't want anything else. Which is why I also feel like if I had Adam as the wedding singer, I'd be like, this is brilliant. Because it's not going to affect my marriage. You know what I mean? It's just a crazy, funny, insane thing.
Right. And you could laugh about it. And there would be film of it too. So
yeah, like, watch this. I'm going to put this on YouTube and make a couple grand off of it. Yeah.
But also, what's his name? Oh, Matthew Glave, who plays the fiance of Julia Sullivan, Glenn Guglia.
Guglia.
Julia Guglia.
Julia Guglia.
He even says to Robbie Hart, oh yeah, well, she's put in her 4 years. Mm-hmm. She's earned it.
She's proven herself or something like that.
That I know that, and I met her before I made all of my money.
Right.
And I might as well give her what she wants. Like, he doesn't want to get married. He's not interested.
Not at all.
And admits to Robbie Hart that he's still actively, currently cheating and wants to continue. Then it'll become adultery.
Because he works long hours.
Yeah,
and
he'll be in the city.
He'll be in the city.
And so he has zero intent, like true intentions.
Oh, you know what? They must be in like Long Island or something, or
maybe
because he's a Wall Street.
Oh, is that what he said?
He's Wall Street bonds is what
but there
Drew
are
Barrymore said he does.
Some firms that'll have like satellite offices.
But not in the 80s.
Oh, okay. Oh, right.
Wall Street.
Right.
They didn't have the internet. You need to be there.
Yeah, never mind. Oh, how times
He's
have
basically
changed.
A Wolf of Wall Street is what he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Another interesting film that could be mediated.
That's a good one.
Oh, I have so much to say about all of this. Yeah, never mind. No.
That's a whole other thing.
Yeah. Back away, CT, slowly from that nice opening Dale gave you. Yeah, but that's the thing is, I've had actual stories. So I think I told you about this. I don't think I've said it on the podcast. In a previous profession, because this is my third one, I had just started out as a clinical massage therapist, and I just started at a clinic, and the massage therapist of a patient was making a referral to me, and I never took this person on as a patient. He, I don't believe, ever returned to her, so it was really an ex-patient, so it was the end of their therapeutic relationship. And so they were talking very friendly, but I just come out of my treatment session, and she turns to me. She was like, listen to what he has to say. And I had nothing better to do with my time. I don't know, but I don't know why I was roped into this very long conversation about this man's personal life of dating this only one woman from high school. They were high school sweethearts, and now they were in their late 20s, and his family loves her. Her family loves him. They're very integrated because this has been more than a decade of their relationship, right? Yeah. And there's pressure because all of her friends are getting married and they're starting to have children. And he thinks that she wants him to get married, so I guess we'll get married. And the way that he's saying it wasn't in this, oh, I want to still sleep around. He wasn't a cheating type of person, but you can tell he wasn't interested in marrying her. He was just with her because he didn't want to break up with her.
All he knew, too, it seems like.
Yeah. He was too accustomed to the relationship to think about what his life would look like. And of course, both me and the other therapist were significantly older than him. I was in my mid-30s at the time, and she was in her mid-40s. So this guy was in his, mid to late 20s, suddenly being like, I guess I should marry her. It's like, why? And
if you have to say, I guess I should.
Yeah. I had been divorced already for, I think, a couple of years by then. So I was like, what are you doing? Don't get married to someone just because out of some sort of obligation and sense of duty. Not only is that not fair to you, but it's really not fair to her. If you told, if this had been recorded, and got a little panicky at one point, I was like, no, we're not recording. But imagine, and then she heard that. How do you think that would make her feel? Oh, I guess it wouldn't make her feel good. No, that you're marrying her just because. You should want to marry her. You should want to be building life. Do you want what she wants? You have the same values. Why aren't you examining this?
Yeah.
And that's, I think, one of the reasons why so many marriages are almost doomed from the beginning, because they're not sitting down and saying, what are our goals? What are our values? Do they match?
Yeah.
Do we want kids?
Are they doing it for the right reason?
This is why I can be very pro-modern arranged marriage.
Too. Like all of that.
Yeah. Pro-modern arranged marriage. I am super on board for it. I've had a lot of friends who they're not even necessarily like they were maybe born here, like North America or UK or whatnot. And maybe even their parents or one of them were born and raised in the UK, but they have a lot of Indian family back home, and it is sort of their tradition. Now, there are a lot of people who have love matches as well, but this arranged marriage concept, I've had friends who just said, yeah, you know what? It was time. I've dated. I haven't met anyone that I've found particularly amazing that has stood out to me, but I want what my parents have, or I want what my culture has. And I want someone who, as you just said, like maybe has the same religious beliefs. And I want to have children, and I want to have that stability that the union of families can be. So they go on to these matchmaking sites. And what was really awesome about it is that it's usually their moms who've already been on and have already picked profiles for them. And there's a lot of people in North America who clutch at their pearls when they hear that. And they're like, how could you allow your mom to help you? It's more, if your family is against your union, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, probably.
And you can say, well, screw you, and we're going to move to another place. But when you have family, when you have start your own family, it's really hard. And there's a lot of people who don't think about that. So they've cut off their family completely, and they don't even have a good friend support network. They don't have good community supports. And they're just trying that pioneer outback solo parenting. A bit of a wake-up call for people who think that way. If you go and actually look at the history of pioneers who ordered their brides and paid for their brides to have literally a paper put on them to be mailed to them, then they had a kid, and they would like tie their kids to ropes on a tree so they could go work in the fields and stuff. And that was normal.
My grandpa was tied to a tree when
right?
I was little. Yeah.
And we are horrified at that now, but it was really hard life.
He loved it. It was so that he could play in the yard without them worrying about him running out into the, because cars were new.
Right.
About running out into the street and getting hit by
or just getting
Model
eaten
T.
by a feral animal.
Or something like that. Yeah. And then I told you about my second great-grandparents, right, who met at a 4th of July parade in 1904.
Yes. Oh, I love this story. Please tell the story.
So he was a volunteer firefighter in Gilroy, California. And I have a photo of him that day in the parade, because the firemen went down the main street in the parade, and he's right in the front. So I have a picture of that. And it was that day that he met his future wife, Rose, and they married like 2 months later or something ridiculous, really quick. and they lived happily
ever after
for the rest of their lives. So yeah, like over 60 years they were together.
which is super rare.
It is super
days.
rare.
Yeah,
But that's why I believe stuff like Heartstopper and stuff like that.
well,
Or even, Robbie and Julia.
But
Clearly they had a similar type of a thing. They
but they know what they want. Like, I think
and they're
your
good people.
grandparents knew. Well, you could be really bad people and love each other and get married.
Yeah, but I feel like it's not going to be happy.
Maybe.
We
don't know.
When the people are
maybe they really enjoy their devilish selves together.
That's I guess so. If they like causing chaos outside. Actually, I do know a couple from Fraser Park that were like that.
Yeah.
I hated those people.
But they love each other because they found their perfect soulmate.
You're right.
I mean, we hear all sorts of really horrible couples that do horrible things to people, not just children, but to other, like murder couples and stuff, who just totally loved each other.
Bonnie and Clyde.
There you go.
Yep.
Died and
totally in love with each other.
Yeah, crazy for each other. Enjoyed, but they had the same goals.
They had the same goals.
They really did, the same values. And that's what keeps people together. They knew what they wanted. And I think your grandparents, they knew what they wanted.
Definitely. Yeah.
And I think that's great. If you can sit and have some of those hard conversations. Like my husband, got married fairly quickly, right? In fact, a lot of people were expressing some doubts about it. I'm not going to say it was easy. In fact, there were a few surprises after we had married. I was like, oh, who did I marry again? But I think what stays the path is you both genuinely want the same things. You have the same goals. You have some of the same values. And that can really help you overcome some of those even bigger disappointments. Like my husband admitting he was neurodiverse was kind of a big thing. Had I known before, I don't know. Would I have been more scared off? I don't know. Maybe. Or at least it would have been nice so I could have been a bit more prepared for some of the difficulties that had happened. But at the same time, his neurodiversity is why I fell in love with him. I love his honesty. I'm not always enjoying his honesty, but in past relationships, I had been lied to so often, and I just wanted I don't care if it's negative. Just tell me how you really feel. Don't hide it from me. And that's the thing is, especially when I hear people who are in the process of separating and divorce, they talk about how different that they've become or how disappointed they were in not showing up to things and not being their real selves and then showing their true selves. And they felt a sense of deception. It's like, yeah, I know that. I remember that kind of stuff. Yeah. It really sucks. Then throw in things like addictions or other sort of negative traits that can be really hard and taxing on a marriage. I don't want to say addiction is a bad thing to an individual person. It's a difficult thing, and it's a difficult thing to bring into a marriage, especially when you're hiding it. So it was really nice to get to know someone who had no interest, much less ability to have artifice.
I mean, and that's why, especially with addiction, that's why they say, not that I think AA is the best route to go, to be honest, but one of their things is you do not be in a relationship during the first 6 months. I
think a year. I think it's a year
recovery. Yeah,
get some time to make yourself right and your life right, and get into the habits of recovery and get into what's serving you and being more functional before you.
There's a good reason for that.
Before you throw yourself in a potentially stabilizing situation. Which brings us to not showing up for Robbie Hart's wedding. His fiance, who I guess is Jodie Thielen here, who played Kate. right? Yeah.
Is that who it was? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, she did probably one of the most nastiest things you can do to a person in a relationship on the day. Like all of this
and
time.
She didn't even
money.
have the... I was going to say the balls, but obviously she didn't have the...
She didn't have the pussy
yeah,
to show up.
Yeah. Or the maturity. She didn't have the maturity to at least come and tell him that day beforehand.
Or the day before, as he keeps bringing up all the things, something I could have known yesterday.
Yeah. Before he showed up, or even even if she didn't know really until that moment, then tell him that moment. Don't leave a note to your mother for your mother to give to him. That's crazy. It's
so rude. It's so many levels of rude. And the thing is I actually know people who've stood up.
Oh,
someone
really?
at the yes.
Yeah. No, I've never known
and someone who
anyone
got stood up.
I've never known either.
And I've known people who, friends and family, stand up. They don't come to the wedding. Last minute.
Oh, just don't show up?
Oh, no, they'll call the day of and they're like, you know what? We all got together and we decided that this is a bad idea and you shouldn't be marrying this person. So we're not showing up at the wedding.
Wow.
And I really don't want to get into who it was of the various things, but yeah. And I'll never forget, I was part of the wedding party of one, and we were sitting at a table, and they wrote my then partner in at the time to sit at the table to balance it out, because some of the wedding party people, like one of the
like
main people
type of
one of the main wedding party people, there were several of them who called one of the people getting married that morning and said, we don't like who you're going to get married. We've actually never liked them, and we're not going to.
Why did never like them?
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell me 6 months
ago? A week ago?
Or whenever it was started to be planned. As soon as you announced it, why didn't you say something?
And also, this happened to be one of the maid of honor best man. We're going to say which one it was.
Right.
That was one of the people that didn't show up. And it's like,
they would have gone
if
through
you ask someone to stand up for you at a wedding, that's done beforehand. It's not done the day of.
Right.
And so that's when you say to them, I have misgivings about this.
Yeah.
But so many
That's
people
the whole
don't.
point of that position.
Yeah.
I don't think people realize that. It's not just
There's a lot of people who don't.
It's not just a tradition. Yeah. Wow.
And also, there was people I know. So the person who got stood up at their wedding, it wasn't like how Robbie Hart's situation was, but it was the day before, which is still pretty bad.
Better
because
than his,
it was at a
bad.
and it wasn't a destination or everything, but it was like a hotel that was quite big. A lot of money had been spent and whatnot. And so they're supposed to do the rehearsal dinner, which is the dry run.
Yeah.
And suddenly most of the other side of the party isn't showing up, isn't checking into the hotel. And they're thinking, did something. And initially they're thinking, oh my God, did something bad happen?
Right.
Is there an emergency? Is the days of cell phones? So they're texting. No one's answering. Everyone da-da-da-da. Finally, there's these barrage of texts that come through to the bridal party. Okay, so it was the groom and the groom's side of the family who aren't showing up, okay? And so the maid of honor suddenly receives this barrage of texts because, of course, they've gone to those, best man, the bachelor party, the bachelorette party and whatnot. And so some of the family of the groom, they were all in this text chain and whatnot. And it's a sibling of the groom who texts her and says, so we're not coming.
Wow.
Why? Well, my parents don't approve and they're not coming, and they're not going to, they didn't want to pay for it. So they're pulling out. And so
Wouldn't my brother be paid at that point?
Well, the bride's side of the family had footed the whole bill, and they were going to come and pay for like the open bar and pay for some of those other bits, like some of those things that groom people do in North American weddings and whatnot. And they're like, yeah, no, they had no intention. They were never coming. And we were trying to convince them even to today. You know, we drove her to their house and they're like, no, and it's like, when I heard this story, I said, wait a second. So let me get this straight. She's telling you that the groom's parents have never approved and have told through this entire process that they're not going to support this, that they're not going to pay. And what the groom has just lied to his bride, oh yeah, no problem. And she was like, yeah, I guess that's how it happened. So I'm hearing this, full disclosure, I heard it through the maid of honor, right? So that's how I know. And I kind of know I never really knew her. Like I just met her in passing, but I knew the maid of honor briefly. And she's telling me the story. And she's like, yeah, so this is what happened. And this is how it went down. And I said, something stinks about all of this. Like, because, and plain devil's advocate, especially now in retrospect, years later, is we know so many times when, and I hate to say this about some brides, is that they get so pushy. And sometimes they're out and they're pretty much pushing the groom into getting them the ring and pushing the groom. And because they've been planning it since they were 12, and they have a bridal book and they have a hope chest, and they have gaggles of girlfriends who've all planned to get married at the same time, who are all going to do things at the same time. And I asked her if she was one of those people, like, was it pressure? And she goes, and I remember the look, because she was denied it at the time, but now as time gone by, I remember she was actually quite stunned, and it was sort of like, no, she wasn't. And it's like, I think she was, and I think my gut reaction to it was, she pushed this groom. The groom couldn't say no, and it was the parents who said, listen, this is not a good match. We're not supporting. And he just kept steamrolling. She kept steamrolling. And he just kept taking it. And it took his parents literally not showing up to the wedding for him to get it and go, oh, okay. So this, like, people are serious. They really don't, which is, I was too young at the time to recognize what a blessing it was for her. Because what a lesson. Maybe I shouldn't steamroll my groom and force him into marrying me. That could be a great sign. And
maybe he should be honest from the beginning.
Yeah.
And say, hey, you know what? My parents aren't on board with this.
Yeah. Well, she dodged a bullet because he was a coward. Why would you marry a coward? Why would you marry someone so spineless as to not tell you that his parents don't like you? They don't want to be around you. They don't want to show up for your wedding. They don't want to support you.
Yeah.
I would like to know that. Especially when you're combining the families. I think a lot of people forget that. We're in love. Disney happy ending. We ran away together. The end. No, now your families are stuck together. Now your families might be interacting with each other at various times, like especially if you decide to have children. It doesn't always have to happen, especially if you move far away from your families. Like that was one of the benefits of being married to my husband for a long time. Everyone was complaining about their mother-in-law, but my mother-in-law lived in Texas. It was great.
Reminds me again of there's a comedian, she's from India. I'm sorry, I don't remember her name. I think I saw her on
Cindy
TikTok
V.
or something.
She's great.
I don't think it's Cindy V. Is she the one with the Dutch husband?
Danish
husband.
Yes.
Yeah, she's great. Not her. I love her too. She's fantastic. Yeah.
Talking about marriage and arguments is winning. You have to win your argument.
My parenting style is robust. And by robust, I mean illegal. Yeah. I love her. She's fantastic. No, this is a different lady. And I want to say that her marriage was a love marriage or match or something, but someone else in her family had an arranged marriage. And she's saying the benefits of the arranged marriage because this other woman, she has a pool and she has a dead mother-in-law. Like, what did I do to deserve this life? That I did not get those things.
It's true.
Yeah. I wish I could remember her name so I could give her credit for that. But
well, it's true because there's so many, and there's a lot of people who love to pile on to mother-in-laws, but I think I'm starting to defend mother-in-laws a little bit more. I think we've had a discussion about this. I'm starting to side with them more, especially, because you apologize to Marcus if he ever listens to this.
Right.
Yeah. It's just, you start to understand, your precious, precious children. You just don't want them any harm to come to them. And then these horrible devil people come into their life.
It's not even dating yet, and you're assuming it's a devil person.
Yeah, I'm totally going to be that mother-in-law.
That's why I apologized already.
But the thing is, with my mother-in-law, there was a lot of issues. I'm not going to get into that, but in the end, when I got to see her and be with her, I'm glad we spent the time that we had, and that my son got to meet his Oma, and it was good. But they
were German, right? No,
German Texans.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like, Oma. Like, that's a German. And then I remembered, anyway.
And they had, a chance to connect. And that's the problem, is when I hear people cutting their family off, I understand why sometimes it has to be, especially if there's abuse and real serious issues. But sometimes I've seen people cut off their parents to their children, so that middle person. So suddenly their parents can have no access to their grandchildren over very petty things.
Yeah.
And that's not fair. Especially there we go, wedding singer, Robbie Hart's character. His parents died when he was 8 years old. It's gotta be very traumatic. So it's important that we think about some of the motives, because there is a subtle text there of why was he so desperate to marry Kate?
Well, they say they're not subtle at all. They say it point blank.
Yeah.
For someone says something about, well, of course he wanted to get married.
His sister.
She wanted to start, because they started when they were in 4th grade or something like that. Yep. He and his fiance.
Friend, He's been wanting to get married since 3rd grade.
Because he wanted to rebuild a family.
Yep. And, everyone loves to pile hate on Kate because she was such a coward and didn't show up the day of. It is pretty brutal. But there is one thing that she said that rings true. She goes, you didn't care who you got married to. You just wanted to be married.
That's true. She knows what
point.
She wants. She wanted the Robbie from 6 years ago, the one who was trying to be the rock star, not the wedding singer.
And then for some reason, she decides to come back. Maybe because she realized she genuinely cared and had feelings for him. But we don't care at the time because
it's too late.
It's a little too late.
Yeah.
And it's just like, what? Are you still mad because of the wedding thing? Yeah.
And I think maybe she's a little bit slow to mature. A little bit. So she's finally realizing what Rob had clearly realized years before, that, you know what? Maybe I'm not going to be this famous rock singer. I'm going to be a wedding singer, apparently.
And I love doing it.
And
this is who I am.
He enjoys doing it. And he had come to terms with that. She hadn't.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of things that
He's
He
like, what's
could have
wrong with
been
being a wedding
known-
singer?
yeah.
What's wrong with Richfield? It's a great place to raise a family.
All of
She
these
wasn't
things he
there.
could have known yesterday.
Right.
Now,
And you know what? Now that I think about it, though, too, I feel like Kate, that was pretty obvious with Kate.
oh yeah,
So
dead obvious.
how did he not know yesterday?
Because he was so keen to just
He's
get
blinded.
married. Yep.
Yeah.
He was the bridezilla. Let's be honest. He was the bridezilla. So he was
Yeah.
a groomzilla.
He's a groomzilla.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was pushing her in that scenario.
And it took her not showing up for him to get it.
For him to get it. Yeah.
Which, wow. So the maid of honor story that I just realized, oh my gosh, that's
the
the
wedding
exact,
singer.
but just it was in reverse.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, so listeners, if you have any situations where this happened that could have maybe been mediated before, because nowadays weddings are so like those big productions.
So expensive.
Yeah, people have to get loans out.
Just don't do it. I mean, I'm not I'm not saying
Joking,
don't get
married.
married. But, you know, it's,
Rain on their parade, Dale.
right. A backyard wedding is fantastic.
Right? Ken and I got married $2,500.
Yeah. Or even a town.
I got my dress on Amazon and it looked fantastic in it and I loved it.
Or a city hall wedding. Maybe not, look at the city hall before you go there.
We paid like $100 or something for an officiant to show up for like an hour. He was great.
Honestly, just get a family member to do that.
Yep.
You can register. It takes like 5 minutes to get your ordination, which I have, by the way. Do you know that?
Ooh.
I can legally marry people.
Contact Dale if you would like him
have it on me?
to be in order to preside over your weddings. Oh, Reverend. We should be referring to you as the Reverend Dale E. Wow.
The secular humanist reverend.
Okay, Reverend. That's your name now, the Rev.
I literally, it was like
The
5 minutes. In 2005, this card is almost 20 years old.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, that was my old address.
You could technically officiate deaths too, right?
Well,
is it just
anyone could
marriages?
officiate a death because there's no
Well,
sometimes
legal people want to
portion
have
to it.
Oh, there's a death certificate and all that kind
But
of
that has
stuff.
nothing to do with the person who
If you
officiates.
decide to have a funeral
That's the doctor
a
in the
celebration,
hospital.
or a celebration of life, yeah.
But a legal
So
marriage.
many people
this,
go to reverends that were priests or something to oversee funerals or gatherings.
No,
or
literally
memorials.
anyone could do that. But
Yeah.
for a marriage, like this allows me to go to a backyard wedding and they have to get the license, but then I can actually sign the license legally to say that, yes, I married them.
Wouldn't this be funny if this is what takes you off into the world as being like a backyard wedding reverend? People start writing in, Dale.
For atheists? I guess so.
Dale,
yeah.
can you be the officiant? Oh, no. Reverend Dale, can you be the officiant?
Reverend Sheldon, yeah.
No, just Reverend Dale. I like it better than Reverend Sheldon. It's too
I don't
long.
like the name Dale. I never liked my name.
Really?
Yeah, I never liked my name.
Why?
Because it never fit me. I grew up in San Francisco and Los Angeles, and I got a name of someone who lives in Appalachia. The only Dales I've ever had reference to are Dale Evans, the country singer, who's a woman,
Yeah.
and Dale Earnhardt Jr., the NASCAR race driver.
Awesome. So you could have been in Talladega Nights. I want to go fast.
Neither of whom are Appalachia, but they're. And then every time you see a Dale in a movie, not so much, it's changed recently, but growing up, anytime there was a Dale in a movie or a TV show, it was someone with twang who...
I knew a Dale Smith, and it was a she, and it. Dale was a she, and she was a teacher at my elementary school.
Okay.
Never my teacher, but yeah. She was
I didn't meet another Dale until I was 25, I think, in my mid-20s. And again, it was a she. She was like 20 years older than me. Really sweet lady. Actually, I loved her. She was great.
Yeah, it's interesting. There are a lot more Dales that I know who are women.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Dale, Gale, maybe that's why. Rhyming,
Maybe.
you know.
I mean, Gail, I've known one, actually, that terrible couple in Fraser Park. His name was Gail.
A male Gale.
A male Gail. It can be a man, but it's almost always women. But it can be a man
I've
too.
known some terrible Gales, like PTSD memories of these people.
I'm going to apologize now. I've never made a good Gail ever.
No,
that I recall.
I've met two who were quite redeeming to the name, but I felt sad for them to have been named Gail because of so many horrible Gales I know. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's too bad. Like, I don't say that to their face. Like,
which is
it's too bad your name is Gail.
Right?
It is.
It's like,
it is.
Clearly, your name has nothing to do with who you are. Well, except sometimes people
have really horrible memories associated with a name, so it really irritates them.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like sometimes people will, in their own development, might develop toward the stereotype of the name that they were given.
Oh, yeah. Especially if they're treated in a certain way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. True. That too. Like if you name your daughter Bambi, it's not going to go well. just not.
Sugar tits. There are some pretty unfortunate names, but I got made fun of so, like, I actually do. I think that's why I go by CT. It's just there's been so many issues with my name that I just don't want to. I'm just too tired.
Which is weird to me. I can't think of any issue with your actual name. Not that.
The story. We would bore our listeners with the amount of trauma I've had around my stupid name. Like, I don't hate it. I love my name, but the thing is other people have so many issues that I just prefer to go by CT because
it's generic. Like no one has a connotation of CT.
Well, I don't want to get into the conversation anymore. It's like, it's my name. This is what was given to me at birth. The end. Just call me CT. The end. I don't want to get into it with you. I just don't. Because
I've never had that.
It's not my business to tell you and make you feel comfortable about Chantal Therese. It's just not. Yeah. Like, and the thing is we're going to get into, we're not going to mention certain names, but certain people. In fact, one person I could talk about, and I'm not going to bring on the podcast because this person is too connected to some circles that I know, but they know who they are if they ever listen to this episode. But there's one name, and it tends to be females more than males who get an umbrage and get very picky about how their name is pronounced.
Oh, okay.
And for me, there are two that I tend to notice a lot of, two names I should mention. Notice a lot of women who get very picky about how they're said. And listeners, you can send in those, oh yeah, there's this one name that is, oh, it just drives me nuts. Oh, it's so crazy. But for me, it's like Tanya. Oh, yeah.
I didn't know there was any version other than Tanya.
And there's Tayna, Tania, Tonia, like.
I would pronounce all of them Tanya.
Exhausting. Oh, no. But if you'd met some of the women I know, they would stand and look at you like, say it again, say it again, say it again. That's how they are.
Like, nope.
Yeah, right? And I mean, now I don't care as much. But then there was the other one is actually my sister.
I mean, I do want to respect like how someone
I do too,
pronounces their name. But
if
at the
they
same time,
make such a huge,
especially when Tanya is clearly the predominant, the expected that everyone knows. If you say
in the area that you grew up in, because the one that I grew up in, the area I grew up in was Toronto, Scarborough specifically, and I knew a lot of Tanyas.
Really?
Yeah. So when I met a Tanya, she asked, please call me Tanya. And I got used to it because she just asked, and I got used to it, and it was fine.
And
she wasn't
that
rude.
is fine, exactly.
She wasn't rude.
If you say it like that, please call me this.
Please,
100%, I'm going to respect that.
Sure. And if I slip up sometimes, she would just very kindly, calmly, it's Tanya. It's like, oh, right. So then I would go to certain places, and there was this one person in particular. I mean, different, but there's one that sticks out in my mind. And she really was very angry if you said Tanya or Tanya. It was Tanya. She liked that sound in her voice for some reason. And I'd gotten so used to not hearing the sound in the voice that when she insisted on it, I think that's why it stuck. It's like, really? You want to have a nasal sound in your voice? You want to hear Tanya?
You want to sound like Fran Drescher?
Yeah, all the time? I don't know, but I think it's just because that's how her parents pronounced it. That's how she grew up, and I guess because there were more, like, Toronto was so multi-ethnic, multicultural, then she's getting all of these pronunciations hitting her. Because I got so many pronunciations, but I didn't make a big deal of it. The thing is other people made a big deal of it, and it was such a big production. I had the inverse of what happened, right? Mm-hmm. So these women are getting upset that way. I'm getting the inverse. I was like, really? You care so much about how to pronounce my name? Who flipping cares? Just go by CT.
Yeah.
Is easier. Okay, we can all move on. Let's talk about something else. Talk about the weather. The other one, actually, my sister, her name is Andrea. There's a lot of people who like to be pronounced Andrea. I'll never forget going.
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, I've had that.
I brought a friend.
Andrea versus Andrea.
Yeah, I brought a friend to a group.
Or Andrea.
Yeah, a group dinner, and we're all getting in there. And Andrea was the friend of some of my mutual friends, and I'd seen her around before, but I brought one, friend who didn't know everyone. So going around the table and introducing everyone. And I did pronounce her name correctly, Andrea, But my friend just didn't know and kept saying Andrea. And halfway through dinner, she clunks her glass really that kind of thing that happens with all with the color, all kind of stops us. And she looks my friend dead in the eye and she goes, Andrea, do you know how to say a name? And it was just so rude, and just kept saying, Andrea. And then my friend was like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, say it. Oh no, I'm say it, Andrea. Andrea, and just like flipping out, and it was just
crazy.
So over the top. People in the restaurant were looking at us. It's like, really? You care that much? Who cares? Crazy. You could be upset and offended, but maybe afterwards go to them, pull them aside and say, listen, it's just not how my name is pronounced. Would you mind?
Yeah.
So other ways to mediate that situation. But we've gone off topic, and we might need to move this into another session for another day. We're going to come back to the wedding singer, and we're going to say, audience, if you have any wedding trauma or marriage trauma, or people who should not be getting married, and you would like to know, how do I mediate? How do I host an intervention for my family? If your family or friend has turned into a groomzilla or a bridezilla, and you know that this is the wrong path they're going down,
would it be okay? Could surprising the bride and groom with a mediator before the wedding be a good...
I wouldn't do it. I'm sure maybe other mediators would do, but what would happen is I would invite them to a mediation.
Yeah.
Right? And it's not quite the same as an intervention, but that, oh my God. I mean, we've just figured out we figured out our new spin-off show, what? Mediation Intervention, where we just randomly show up at people's houses.
You need to get your shit together. And we're here now.
And this is the mediator. Dun dun.
Yeah.
No, but seriously, you as a family, I can reach out and say, listen, this is not happening, because this happens in elder mediation all the time. And that's why people are trying to change the name from elder, because they just instantly think it's about old people, because we're referring to elders. Intergenerational mediation, there's all sorts of important family situations that are with major cycles in life: birth, death, marriage, that require a little bit of discussion, a little bit of mediation.
Yeah.
And there are times when I would have loved to have had a mediator with my family situations.
Yeah.
Even today, I would really love to have a mediator. Now, the thing is the parties are unwilling sometimes. They won't come. And you can't take a gun, point it to their heads, and force them to a mediation. You have to have that intervention first. And say, listen, I don't see a good way out. I think the best thing is for all of us to sit down and have a mediation. But you need to know these actions that you're taking is harmful to a lot of us, and we need you to do something about it with us. We're here. We're willing to work together. And maybe interested parties could contact the mediator, hire them for a session, and say, like a pre-mediation, and say, how do we broach this? And get resources and tips and learn. Like Kate could have gone to a mediator and say, listen, Robbie is just so desperate to get married, and I don't know how to tell him no. What do I do? It's like, okay, well, you need to tell him no before the wedding, as opposed to standing him up at the wedding. And you also maybe need to think about sitting down with him. I can't do it alone. Well, then I can be a mediator and I can arrange for you guys to sit and discuss this. But you might want to consider therapy first.
Yeah.
Like a couples therapy session is way more appropriate. Conversation first. And that's the thing, is people need to understand that there's therapy where you're working through issues, maybe over, it can still be brief, but over even quite a long period of time, where you're taking the time to heal and come up with ideas and process these types of things. But mediation is very action oriented. It's very game day planning. It's very, what is the outcome? How are we going to move forward? What's the future we're creating? Whereas therapy can be about the, oh, I don't like on that one day when you did that when we were 6 or whatever, So listeners, tell us about your marital woes. What could have gone differently had a mediator been there? Or any sort of topic that you want to listen to. Send us to toughcallmediation@gmail.com. And we'll see you next Monday. Thanks for listening in. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thank you for listening to Tough Call Mediation. This podcast is sponsored by Herb Legal LLP. Editing and original music by Tyree Lawton. Marketing by Jasveer Body of Herb Legal LLP. Assistant marketing by Hope Ursek. Connect to our website, herblostservices.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.